The time has come. I have come. What's going on, everybody? The doctor is in. How is everybody doing today? I'm really hoping that everyone's having a wonderful day and that everybody's had a wonderful week since we had our last Snail Solves. I'll tell you right now, this week has been a ride. It's been a roller coaster with both good and both, not so good. You know what I mean? Not necessarily bad. I never like to phrase things as bad because, it's the whole thing, it could always be worse, right? So to measure problems and shit like that is just wasted energy and thought. But I love you guys. And I'm excited to see if you guys have any interesting stories or any submissions today. This is going to be another shorter Snail Solves because I'm fucking hungry. And I'm about to go cook up some ground beef and some veggies and shit like that. And I'm going to suck it down. Also, there is a very, very special Age of Empires game that I need to play. And I'm going to enjoy that. And who knows, maybe I'll win. But you guys have 57 minutes now to get your shit into the Discord. Tell me what's going on. Tell me what's up. What the hell's going on right now. I have a couple topics that I wanted to touch on in this Snail Solves as more of kind of just like an episodic approach to my thoughts on different shit that's going on, not necessarily in my life, but in the world, and, maybe somebody's giving me an idea, a Sally Sue kind of thing, and, it would just be good to dig into it without any kind of bias or anything like that. So, I'm gonna wait a couple sexy minutes here, just to let people filter in and to get those submissions into the Discord. For those that are here now and don't already know, which most of you should by now, I have the Discord link pinned in the chat right now. We also have a poll up right now that I would very much like everybody to vote in. And it's more or less just kind of an anonymous way of kind of analyzing what's going on in your life, or at least in this week. I like to shorten it to the week, because if you measure up your whole life and be like, all right, well, what's the worst thing that ever happened, right? That's not going to happen to you every week. I hope fucking not. Maybe so. Really hoping that's not the case for you. But even still, looking at it from the weekly perspective, you can look at not only the bad things, but you can look at all the shit that sucked and maybe wasn't that great, or maybe you didn't do too much growing on that day, or maybe you were just too hard, or whatever circumstances are going on. And let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Let's boil it down. There's 4 options. And it's phrased as, what are you struggling most with this week? And this is kind of like an accusatory question, because none of these things are things that are, I wouldn't say natural, but are, enforceable in any way, especially from yourself. It's difficult to, you don't have to accept shit. You don't have to love yourself. You don't have to be externally positive, and you don't have to be grateful for shit. But, all 4 of those things are important, like fundamental elements into the overarching package of being happy and being a beacon of light and spreading it, exposing that to everybody. And that shit is powerful. We've said it before, I'll say it again now. But yeah, go ahead and vote in that shit, because I'm really curious to see what people are really struggling with, Made it for a brief moment. I gotta pick up my girlfriend. Dude, thank you for stopping in, Mills. I love you all so much. I'm gonna shout them out real quick. We got Bear the Greeter in here. Of course, the legendary World Alone Online, dude. Frank, unreal. Unlocking Sexy Paradoxes. Kale is right now watching and monitoring and being sexy. And I'm sure Phil is gonna pop around here too. I saw Window in here. I didn't even fucking just gloss right on past that. Huge shout out to Window. Huge shout out to Blue Cat. Both of them being newer on the Gastropod team, they're fucking pushing out awesome streams. I really love them. I really love them both. Blue Cat has been busting all over Fallout. I was gonna say Oblivion. And I'm really enjoying watching that because Oblivion's fucking Oblivion. I said it again. I've never really been like a big Fallout player or Oblivion. That's why I keep saying that. I'm thinking about it, but you know, so it's very much like watching somebody else kind of live their life. You know what I mean? From in a non-creepy way. You know, because you get to see all of their little micro choices and shit. Like a humming sound. Is it a little too loud? Let me see. Thank you for letting me know. Are the loafers the move? Dude, loafers fuck. Let me just make sure there isn't anything fucking crazy going on. Oh, it actually might be too loud. Let's turn it down. Right. How about now? How about now? Let me make sure that there isn't any... Yeah, there's no suppression or anything. Yeah, it's buzzing. Now. It's really beautiful. How about that? Yeah, you hear that? Is it buzzing? Are we buzzing? Buzz. Buzz. Sometimes the fucking thing skips out and it fucking connects to the wrong fucking modulation and shit gets all fucked up. It shoots the pitch out, it shoots everything all fucky. This should be it though. This should be the bust. Okay. Leaving snail goo on the roof bars. Yeah, I'm doing a little bit of roofing today. I kind of got stuck up here and now I can't get down. I was kind of embarrassed to admit that, but that's just the way it is. Sometimes you just gotta know me. Alright, how's the audio now? Are we bussing? Is it bussing? Are we in bus mode? I was pissing and kissing my own chest and I realized I didn't like the stream yet. Holy banana tits. Yeah, please do that. It helps us out, dude. We're fucking rocking and rolling here. You guys, single-handedly, all of you, have been so fucking supportive. Like, you guys are the blood of Gastropod Enterprise, and without you, it would just, you know, what do you do without blood? You're not doing too much without blood. But anyway, I hope everything's fixed. Is it sounding good now? Am I hard? Am I stroking it? I was just saying the other day, or just today actually, on Blue Cat's stream, she was having some audio issues. Dude, it just fucking always happens. It always fucking happens. Someday, you know, when I'm a grindcore billionaire, then I'll just have, you know, I'll just throw money at everything. And then everything will just work as it's supposed to, and then I'll have somebody just like doing all of the fucking monitoring. We'll have like those two guys in the corner that are jerking each other off. You know, and they're like, they're laughing at everything I say. They're going, yeah, that's pretty funny. Gonna start giving shout outs every stream until you hit 1K. Dude, thank you. You're gonna make me cry. I love all of you guys. We're gonna get there. We're gonna do it as a team, as a unit. But anyway, it's back to spreading love and positivity. For those that are just now popping in, go check out the Discord link in the chat. If you're not already in the Discord, get on in there, read the rules, read the instructions, and then let me help you. Let me help you. Let's talk about your problems. Let's talk about what's going on. I want to try to keep as much of the problem-oriented shit in the Discord as possible. Not that you guys are not allowed to say it on the chat if it makes it easier for you, whatever. But we're gonna try to tighten it up. I also want to start getting some live calls in here eventually. I'm working on the hardware end of it. Obviously, as you guys know, it still fucking fucks up. Fuck! Everything gets all fucked. But that's all right because we're busting. I gotta make sure that I got this shit pulled up right. Oh yeah, we're gonna give it a little squeeze. Yeah. All right, pre-screening. So everybody that doesn't already know, pre-screening inside of the Snail Solves Your Problems Discord is where you go in there to state your case. You know, that's where you can go to dump your load. It's not where you go to like just talk shit or whatever. Keep that in the chat, but try to keep it as concise because I'm going to be reading some of this shit. And as per the rules, if it's too silly or if it's too stupid, I'm not going to read it. So don't waste other people's time too, because like I said earlier, this is only going till 9 o'clock. So we have, starting right now, 49 minutes for everybody to get their submissions in to the Discord and then to talk about them, because I got to make big sexy dinner and I got to stroke it. All right, so let's get in there. Start rocking and rolling. I love all of you so much, and you guys already know this shit, so. While I let people kind of, get themselves oriented here, I'm going to talk about what I wanted to talk about for the weekly Snail Solves sermon. But it's more or less just something that is, everybody's struggling with now, I think. And me too at times. I think it's about being kind of like, it's about just being vulnerable in general, right? So depending on your circumstances and whatever you got going on in life, there's probably been something has happened, or somebody has said or done something, or whatever variables entail there, that have made you feel, or have actually like proactively made you feel like you cannot be vulnerable. Like, right? So let's just give an example here. So pretend you are telling somebody that you really care about, right? You're talking to somebody you really care about, and they just do something that's just really terrible, or not even terrible, but something that you just really, really don't like, and it really bothers you, and it really cuts deep, and it's really just a problem, and you need to address it, and you don't feel like that other person, he or she may not be aware of what's going on, or the fact that they're even doing it, or something like that. So what you'll do is you'll be like, hey, I really don't like this way, or something like that, and then they react in a really negative, like an extremely negative way, in a way that makes you feel like you can't express how you feel, right? Or if you can't let yourself be open, right? And that's kind of a really stupid, broad example, but for most of you, you'll understand what I'm saying when you don't feel necessarily comfortable being vulnerable in multiple different ways of your life. It could be romantically, it could be platonically, it could be in a professional setting. There's a whole bunch of different situations where you will be, I think, conditioned to not allow yourself to be vulnerable. And I think that there is something really important about being able to not only express, not even boundaries, but just kind of like how you feel. So kind of like open yourself up to not necessarily ridicule, but just open yourself up. And I was thinking about different ways to combat that. Like, how do you fix a problem you don't know you have, right? So I think this is the case for a lot of people that suffer any kind of trauma early on, or at any point in their life, and you can use like romantically as an example. So let's just say that you had a couple of really bad relationships, like, right, you had, everything was going all right and stuff like that, but at some point you really let your guard down, right? And you really showed your true colors, and you let yourself be vulnerable, and you really kind of open yourself up to just being, to the whim of the other person, right? And then at some point that person either uses it against you, right? Or they weaponize it in a way that changes how you think and feel and do things, especially in that relationship. And instead of having kind of like an internal monologue and kind of like having a conversation with yourself and being like, all right, well, I am the way that I am, and for whatever reason, this person or whatever situation made me feel like I can no longer be who I am, or I can never be the most authentic person, the most authentic version of myself that I can be. So what do you do? Like, what do you do in a situation like that? It's like, it's a really difficult thing, because you can't fuck with shit that you can't control, right? Like there really is some things in life that you just can't control. And if it's one of those things, you kind of have to just kind of, you got to just kind of learn to cope. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it is, I guess. But I think that being vulnerable is an essential thing, not only for like really good relationships, platonic and otherwise, but also to make art and music, and it also transforms into any kind of professional stuff, right? Like if you strive for perfectionism, right? If your bottom line is being like the best at something, like if you can't just do something and progress at your own pace, or do it and just kind of let it be, to like without any kind of external shit, you know what I mean? And I think to do that, you have to have something happen. Like you have to have been broken down at some point. Like somebody would have like brought it to your attention, right? Like dude, you never share your feelings, or you're like, you're like really cold. You never like, you're never kind of like, and it's transparent too, and this is the thing too, is like you'll notice, like once you've kind of like left that mindset, you'll see somebody and you can usually tell, because they'll either have some kind of intense bravado or some kind of not necessarily superiority complex, but maybe even an inferiority complex where they feel like nothing they ever do was good enough, so they have to compensate. They can never just be vulnerable. They can never just accept who they are and be okay. Like, and that's much harder work than just shrugging it off and just pretending to put up a shield, because that's what it is. I mean, ultimately you're pretending, like that shit that you're internalizing never goes away. The only thing is that you're just kind of subconsciously deciding not to think about it or approach it, and then over time that shapes you into a different person. Corey Feldman is definitely 100% himself. He's a genius, he really is. But there's a lot of severity to this though, because I think that a lot of people will probably live their entire lives without any kind of like internal breakthrough and being like, wow, like the reason why I work so hard at my job is because somebody once told me that I'm a lazy person, and I'm gonna be a failure or something like that. Now I can't work because I'm a failure and I'm an idiot, and and that cyclical thought kind of turns into something that's much worse, I think, at the end. And you don't even realize it. I don't think that you would. I don't think it's really possible to realize that, but it's kind of making the choice to be okay being vulnerable, right? Like, be goofy, be yourself. Like, if you are who you are, why would you try to be anybody else? Like, especially in service of someone else, or what somebody else expects, or whatever, whatever negative and positives that come from that. But I think if you are to try, like, where would you even start? Like, how do you be vulnerable, right? Like, if you're a real tough guy, and you never let everybody thinks you're real tough and stoic, and like, wow, that guy's a really big deal, and nothing ever gets to him and shit like that. That kind of thought is just idiotic anyway. Like, the people that are doing that are idiots. And not to be crass or mean, but it's just wasted thought, so being yourself is really just being happy. I think that's one and the same. And it's really sad because there's so many people in the world that are resolute in their status, in like their perceived status, right? So let's just say, for instance, that you really wanted to be a musician, right? And you really wanted to be a musician, and
you know, and your parents were like, well, you know, musicians, you know, they don't make any money. You know, it's a dead-end career. It's for starving artists. You know, it never really goes anywhere. And you're going to have to work 2 or 3 times as hard to get what you want out of, you know, the same career. Like if you just go to college or whatever like that. And, you know, so there is probably some degree of truth in that. I mean, there's just some degree of truth in everything, right? But that, you know, hypothetically could shape your entire life. Like if you really give a shit, like if you really like making music and you're good at it, and maybe you're not a fucking pro, maybe you're not like a fucking Berkeley jazz god, right? But you're good, and well, maybe not even you're good, but you like what you do. You like what you sound like. You know, you like doing it. You find some joy in it. To stop yourself short, you know what I mean? Just because of your ego, right? Because you're no longer vulnerable. Once somebody made you feel like an idiot or told you suck, you know, put that shit down. You know, like, is that a cat dying? What the fuck are you playing over there? You basically do what we talked about, and this is like a common thing too, is you tell your brain to fuck off, right? Well, first, number one, you tell whoever's telling you that to fuck off. And then number two, you tell your brain to fuck off. And then you go gun-ho, right? And that's just one example that I can think of, you know, and it's not so simple. I'm making it sound so simple, but it really is that simple, right? Like you just have to decide for yourself. Like make the conscious thought, like really dig in, like introspect, right? Like, am I really who I am? Like, am I really the authentic version of myself, or am I just a product of what other people expect me to be, or a product of my environment, or a product of society, or whatever? You know, like what is cheating me? Like what am I doing that's not allowing me to be the best version of myself? And then once you start figuring that shit out, you're in bust mode, and you're rocking and rolling. All right, we got some submissions here. I'm fucking pumped. I love you guys so much. We have 36 minutes here. Okay, so 6 more minutes. I'm gonna start digging in. Send it up if you got something you want to talk about. This is gonna be short. Again, I'm wrapping up at 9 o'clock. I got big sexy dinner to make. All right, so let's just dig in here. Number one. To a small and serious degree, this week I've been struggling with my motivation. I've been struggling with the motivation to be able to reach the goal of being able to walk, mostly normal again. I've had to tell my brain that I need to do my exercises despite it telling me that I don't need to do them. I feel so overwhelmed that it's extremely difficult. On that note, on Sunday I was simply looking at the large scar on my knee and I started to cry. Well, look, I can tell you right now, and there is a couple things that you can do for motivation. And without knowing the entire situation, it's hard for me to say exactly. But number one, and this is just like the most cookie cutter basic layman shit, and I snafu'd this as somebody that had major depression and had major anxiety and had every major fucking illness, mental illness that you have. I always discounted the importance of having 3 things. Are you ready for this? Write this shit down. Get ready. Number one is at least 30 minutes of sunlight. At least. Preferably up to like an hour, not all at once, you know, you don't get fucking sunburn, right? But at least 30 minutes of sunlight, you know, as much as you can. And if you can't get 30 minutes, just as much as you literally can. That will shape your brain in a different way. Like that shit actually reconfigures your brain to be like, okay, I'm outside, I'm in nature, time to boot up, right? If you're sequestered to being inside all the time, you're gonna feel like shit, because that's just not the way that human beings are supposed to be. You're not supposed to be inside all day. You're supposed to be outside like almost all day. And then at the very end of the day, once the sun is going down, you crawl into your cave and then immediately fall asleep because it's dark out. And maybe have sex, right? Which is pretty badass. And then you wake up when the sun comes up, and then you go pick some berries, right? And then you go hunt some elk or whatever the fuck. So when you think about it, like today, that we're forced to work 9-to-5 jobs, and you're supposed to be in like all this fluorescent lighting, you have to do it. You have to. It is absolutely mandatory. It is not something that you can bargain on. It doesn't matter if you are like, you know, the most depressed that you've ever been, in your entire life. You know what I mean? You're like hanging on to the edge. Literally just crawl outside into the sun. Like just use whatever muscle power you have, crawl into the sun and wait for fucking 30 minutes. And if you don't feel better, then wait another 30 minutes. And then you will feel better. That's the way that shit goes. So that is something that is absolutely non-negotiable. You have to get fucking sunlight. It's absolutely mandatory. Number 2 is consistent sleep, right? Try, and this is a really hard thing for a lot of people, especially now because of all the fucking technological bullshit that we all have to deal with. And the oversaturation of blue light and all this other shit. Again, you gotta remember, like I just said, we're not programmed to be up after dark. You're supposed to just fucking fall asleep immediately. Maybe bust a load and then fall asleep. You're not supposed to be eating. You're not supposed to be, you're not supposed to be watching shit and playing video games and doing whatever the fuck else that you're doing. You're supposed to be sleeping. So what the biggest thing that I can recommend, and this is for everybody, like this is just the basic bare necessities to just not feeling like absolute total shit all the time, is to really dig into like a sleep schedule. And if you deviate like an hour, one way or another, no big deal. But just try to keep it as consistent as you can and try to get as much as you can. Like we're part of like the 8-hour sleep cycle now, which is absolutely fucked. Your body sleeps because it needs it. So if you need to sleep, sleep. If you're tired, go the fuck to sleep. Like stop what you're doing. Whatever you're doing is not that important. Unless you're like curing cancer or getting sucked off or making like $1 million in that moment, not like cumulatively, like in that moment, then whatever you're doing is not that important and you need to go the fuck to sleep, right? So those are 2 things, right? And number 3 is diet, right? And this is another doozy for anybody that lives in the United States, is to eat good, balanced foods, and not the fucking American food pyramid, because that shit is just fucking stupid. You need to eat fruit, you need to eat meat, you gotta eat fucking, not a ton of carbs, but like whole grains are great. You need fiber in your diet, which you can all get usually from whole grains and shit. So, if you're not like super wealthy and you just need the absolute bare necessities for that shit, get some ground beef, get that ground beef, get ground meat and chicken, like lean chicken, get that at least once or twice a week, at least. Get vegetables in your diet, broccoli, fucking kale, as much of those like really dark green, nutrient-rich vegetables as you can. And if you start doing those 3 things, and like you do it consistently, like you can't flake, you can't do it for like a week and then fucking come back, meat curtains. I was like, I gotta spin that into something sexual. So do those 3 things, Bear. Try it for the first week. Like really make a cohesive effort to do that. And if you don't notice a large improvement in your motivation, then we'll reevaluate. But again, this is just quick suggestions to end that too. For people that aren't super duper wealthy and they can't afford to get like fully prepared organic meals of vegetables, chicken, meat, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Then what you can do is you can get shit like fucking like Boost or any of those other ones that are like protein rich. They have like every fucking vitamin and nutrient conceivable, like biotin, niacin, chlorine, vitamin D, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin penis, every one, Exactly. Look, try it for a week, and if it doesn't work, keep going. And if it doesn't work by the end of the first month, then it's just not going to work for you, and you need to figure something else out. But those are the non-negotiable shit. Like that, you can't not do that. Like you can't. Well, this is the thing. This is the kicker. You ready? You can not do that. But then you're not only going to be miserable, but your health is going to decline. Your mental state is going to decline, and then your entire life will follow suit and decline with it. And that happens. That's a normal thing now, which is really fucked up. Because you should, at your very bottom line, care about just getting the basic human fucking necessities and functions that you need to survive. Like if anything else matters to you, like don't wipe your ass, don't play video games, don't do anything else except for those 3 things. That should be like your utmost importance. All right, going on to the next question. I hope that helps, by the way. Try it, please. Try it over the next week, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like you don't have to like completely do it perfectly. Just try. Like try your absolute hardest. And I would recommend 2 weeks, right? Do it for 2 weeks and then message me again. And I promise you, I swear to God, I promise you, you will feel better. All right, here we go. Number 2. Hey Snail, so I've been doing really well, but recently my ex did kind of put me back down. I gotta catch my breath here. She recently moved away to meet up with a dude she met over Discord, and I think she's gonna stay there indefinitely, but she recently sent me a bunch of pictures of some cool shit she's been doing over there. The issue is I feel like I'm not moving forward fast enough. She moved on and moved out of state and doing cool shit, and I'm pretty much in the same place. Should I be moving forward quicker? I would be lying if I said I wasn't envious of how life looks more enjoyable for her. Well, number 1, that's a bunch of fucking hooey, dude. Don't let that fucking... That's some sadistic ass shit, you know what I mean? Especially if she's aware that you are still in a vulnerable place regarding that kind of stuff. And I think this is another common thing, and this is a negative thing, right? This is a negative behavior and it has to be addressed, but trying to go out of your way to make your life look good or to make yourself look like you're doing better just to make somebody else, not for yourself, but to just to do it for anything else, like especially to like make somebody feel down, or doing it in a way that's morally ambiguous, which is what I'm assuming that she's doing there, right? She's doing it. She's like, all right, well maybe he'll feel good, if he knows that I'm happy, or maybe she's secretly doing it because whatever. It's not even intelligent to like think about that shit. What you should be doing is loving yourself, and I think that you do shit exactly on your right time, right? Like shit happens exactly when it needs to happen. You can't rush it, and as much as you want to, as much as most people want to rush through the stages of grief and suffering in general, it's just something that you gotta sit through. Just let it wash over. Let yourself get sad about it. Let yourself cry. Let yourself get angry. Let yourself be vulnerable, right? Circling back around here, you gotta be vulnerable. Don't be vulnerable to her, right? Start with yourself. Like tonight after the stream, and you don't have to do this tonight, just whenever you feel like you got the strength to do it, sit down with yourself, and really ask yourself the same questions that I asked earlier in the stream, right? Like, am I not feeling things because I don't want people to think? Or am I not doing things because am I not because? If you have that conversation with yourself and really start chipping away, think about it. Think about where you live. Like think about how you dress. Think about, how you sleep. Think about how you your hygiene. Think about every fucking thing. Think about it, but do it in small little baby steps, right? That is much more important work. And I guarantee you she's not doing that shit. The fact that she's moved on so quickly is what they call a red herring. And I feel bad for her, and I feel bad for the other person that she's with, because you need to let yourself not only heal, but process, right? Like every failed relationship is not only an opportunity, but it's a lesson, right? Like it's a lesson for you to learn another way on how to love yourself and how, or what expectations you have, set, whether you even are aware of them or not. Like, right, like maybe you'll be like, oh man, I'm never gonna date a fat chick, right? Or you're like, oh my God, I would never date a fat chick. And it's because somebody said once, like, oh my God, yeah, that fat chick is gross, I would never date her. And you're like, all right, you're like writing that down in your mental notes and shit. Unpack it. Time to unpack. That will help you through the grieving stages. Again, I think finding the strength within yourself to not only do like well for yourself independently on your own, but that will look good, this is the thing. You should never, and I repeat, you should never do anything to do what she's doing. Like, you shouldn't be improving yourself to make her feel bad. You shouldn't be improving yourself to flaunt that to her and be like, wow, look at how sexy I am now that, that she dumped me. She's gonna want me so bad. If you're in that cyclical thought process, you need to dump it. You gotta let go. And I think the best way to start doing that is to just start working internally. Start chipping away. And again, I can tell you, dude, there's still plenty of relationships that I've had that it's one of those things where you don't lose that love, right? Like, that love is always there. It may change, it may become like altered and shit, but you have to realize that it's like a time and a place kind of thing, right? Like, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And I, as somebody who is incredibly impulsive and angry and impatient with the world, I can't settle for anything less than what I want, right? And I think that's the case for a lot of people. Like, it's just really hard to concede to the idea that you're not gonna get what you want, and you gotta wait, and you gotta be patient, and you gotta suffer, and you gotta learn, and you gotta sweat, and you gotta put in the work. And that reality comes sooner than later for most people. And that's when everything starts to get better. Again, I want to rephrase too that the healing process is not necessarily linear either. I saw a really great video, and if you'd like, I'll send it to you, but it's this video game, and it's about the 7 stages of grief. And it was a fucking awesome and super profound philosophical approach to like how people experience grief, how we get through it, how it's non-linear. Like, you don't go through the same stages the same way every time. And it's just something that you learn too. Like, again, I don't know if this is one of your first like real major relationships. It's sounding to me like it may be. And there's no shame if it's not. But the more important thing is that you're continuing to have a positive outlook on your life, and you're continuing to put in work on your life, and you're doing it with as much detachment from her or from any kind of other external stimuli as possible. Being strong by yourself, for yourself, within yourself is the most powerful shit that you can do. And I think you have to you needed something like this. This is a good thing, actually. As much as it sucks, and I don't want to say that it's a good thing, I'm sorry that you're hurting. And it sucks. Nobody should have to do that shit, but it's a good thing. It's a blessing, actually. It's a miracle, because now you have reframed. You've now been forced, unfortunately for you, to reframe how not only the world works, but how you view yourself and how you view others and how to love yourself and how to properly love others. And that shit comes from turmoil, buddy. So I'm proud of you, though. I think you're doing a good job. I think, just, again, like I said, do the first things that I told the first guy. Do that shit up. Get better sleep, better eating, and better, what was the other thing? I can't remember. It's something important. You can just, rewind or some shit. But yeah, I love all of you so much. Huge title. The title is, I can't remember. I'll have to look it up after the stream. So usually as soon as you stop wanting and trying so hard, things literally just come your way. But exactly. And I'm a firm believer now. And I've been talking to somebody recently that's really made me realize that the whole, like, quantum physics, manifestation, like, the world is as you perceive it to be. That shit is fucking true. So if you do that stupid, look, and this is another thing too. I remember seeing this like so many times, especially on social media. Like, you see one self-help video once and you like it, or you watch it more than once and then everything is self-help. But this guy is basically talking about, sun it, sleep it, eat it. Sun it, sleep it, eat it. Sun it, sleep it, eat it. Yeah, sun, sleep, and eat. Real quick, one more time, is probably the most important fucking thing ever. You gotta get 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes of sun. You gotta get a consistent amount of sleep, and you have to eat as healthily as you can. That doesn't mean you have to give up the Totino's pizza rolls, right? But it just means, maybe eat some fucking broccoli with it, right? Like, get some whole grains in there. Maybe take a fiber supplement so you start taking really big fat shits. Anyway, I almost lost my train of thought there. The whole self-help guy, what the fuck was it? So basically, the whole idea is that if you're gonna make any kind of conceivable effort to manifest stuff, like if you really just look in the mirror and every morning, and this is part of that video I'm talking about, but the guy says, like, daily affirmations. Everybody's probably heard of that by now. So you look in the mirror, first thing you wake up and you do it, and you just do it gormlessly. It's so goofy to do it at first, but wake up, go straight in the mirror. Don't fucking pick up your phone and do that fucking other shit. And just straight to the mirror. Actually, no, better yet, go straight outside and spend 30 minutes in the sun. And then after that, go straight into the mirror and tell yourself, say, I love you. I love myself. I love you, and I love myself. Talk to yourself. Say, I love myself, and I love you. Talking to yourself, right? Say that 5 times. Say, today is gonna be a wonderful day. Today is gonna be a wonderful fucking day. Today's gonna be a beautiful day. It's not even gonna be beautiful, it's gonna be fucking gorgeous. It's gonna be perfect, And then you go to the next one. You say, I'm gonna do productive things. I wanna be productive today. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna do what I need to do. I'm gonna feel good about it, And just talk to yourself, tell yourself, even if you're lying. If you have to lie to yourself to say it, do it. Do whatever the fuck it takes, because that shit actually helps. That's magic. It is actually magic. And I thought that was the stupidest, dumbass shit ever. I'm like, what the fuck? What are you gonna fucking tell yourself that yeah, of course I love myself, right? Maybe I don't love myself, right? But maybe I want to have a good day, but I don't believe it. I'm not telling myself I'm gonna have a good day, and doing it. This is the thing, is seeing it in your head, like, I'm having a good day. I'm already having a good day. Today's already been a good day, and it's gonna continue to be a good day, and I see it in my mind, right? I believe it. It's no longer a lie. I actually believe it. Today's gonna be a good day. I'm gonna be successful in whatever I'm doing. I'm gonna work hard. I'm gonna have all kinds of love. People are gonna love me. People are going to appreciate me. People are going to respect me. People are going to, I'm going to see this, and then you switch. I'm going to help people. I'm going to make people feel better. I'm going to spread positivity because people deserve it, and I love them, And having that internal, even if you're saying it, even if you say it out loud, honestly, it would be better if you said it in your head, right? Especially if you're looking in the mirror, though. Look at the mirror, tell yourself you love yourself. Tell yourself you're gonna have a good day. Say every fucking good thing. Does it count if I make eye contact with myself in the mirror as I jork it? Yes and no. I wouldn't recommend doing that because, mirrors are portals and shit. You don't wanna fuck with the wrong thing, But you do wanna do positive affirmations and shit like that. You definitely wanna make an effort. You need to do it. You just do it. Just do it! Don't let your dreams be dreams. But yes, I think that's pretty much the wrap up there. But you gotta do the positive affirmations and the power of manifestation. If you really continue to work on yourself and you see yourself being happy and you see yourself being successful and you see yourself having a very happy relationship or comfortable relationship, and you see yourself having a good job, and you see yourself shooting loads into a portal, and you see yourself doing all of these incredible things, you will do them. You will do them. And this is not some fucking hippie woo-woo fucking, witchcraft shit. This is real fucking science. This is math. This is actually how the world works. So it's up to you. You can make the choice not to. I mean, it's your life. I really want to see everybody be the absolute best version of themselves that they can be. And it's possible. Like, there's nothing stopping you. The only thing that's stopping you is yourself. I'm going to remind everybody that hasn't voted in the poll yet. I'm going to go over it before we end the stream. Please go vote. We got 11 votes. Go check it out. What have you been struggling the most with this week? All right, we got one more entry here. We're getting close to 9 o'clock, and then you know what time it is. Oh, yeah. All right, this is a good one. You ready? Here's something, I wouldn't call it a huge issue or a problem, but it's been a year since separating completely from an ex. It ended good, I'd say, but I was the one to move on after a very one-sided thing where I fought hard for it to work. And I'm glad I was able to let go and be responsible with my emotions, but I'm in a state where I miss the idea of who that person was to me. I'm very nostalgic for my past lately. I have a hankering for some love, but I don't want to be in a relationship with anyone right now, and I'm not ready at all, and obviously I'm thinking missing someone that doesn't exist in my life anymore. It wouldn't be right to bring in another person. But anyway, it feels wrong to be in love with someone else who doesn't exist anymore. I'm not stuck in the past constantly because I'm looking forward to new stuff coming my way and new love. But that thought of people I don't know anymore or thing I haven't had in years is stuck in my head. It's weird, but I feel like it also keeps me going. I know what good things feel like, you know. I know what I want, and I'm glad I was able to have been so deep in love, even if it's not right now. I moved on from an ex as a person, but there's a person in my past that I miss. Because who she is now isn't what I want at all. It's weird. The weird nostalgia's been helping me creatively too. It isn't purely about my ex, but it's a topic in thought. Alien to love and loneliness is to feel actually alive now. This is a weird thing. Okay, so there's a lot of sexy shit to unpack there. And this kind of like circles back around to what I said earlier about how those imprints of love and those imprints of all relationships, you know, I think all relationships, and you can even boil it down to just people, right? Like you always have a specific vision in your head of who somebody is and what they're doing and what they are and shit like that. And to try to ignore it, I feel like is a disservice to yourself, because obviously you very much cared about that person, and you could be feeling nostalgic because you're yearning for the same feeling. You're yearning for not necessarily the same feeling, but you're yearning for a similar feeling, right? And that person may have been the only person to really do that for you, right? So naturally, of course, I mean, even though it did amicably end, there's still going to be that kind, I say ghost, but that imprint is a better word, but it's always going to be there. You know, you're always going to have those feelings for that person, and time, you know, changes shit too, of course. But I don't think that you should let that affect how you not only view, but pursue other romantic relationships, right? Because you're still invested in this person, right? And it doesn't mean that you're like actually invested, but you're still emotionally invested. Because again, you can't just stop, right? Like that. I wish that's how it worked, but it doesn't. So what do? You know? And I think the best thing that you can do is the same thing I told the last guy too, is just to do the best for yourself, right? Like try not to frame it in that point of view in your mind, right? If you're feeling emotions and you're feeling a draw and a certain nostalgia for the way that it used to be, feel it, enjoy it, you know, embrace it. I don't know if that person's already, you know, in another relationship, or if you're or if you're still friends or something like that, but if it's one of those things where you can reach out to that person and do it in a way that is non-impactful and it's not going to cause any kind of tension or strife, you know, emotionally or sexually or whatever else, then maybe that's something that you need to do. I think what it is, you know, and I think that kind of ghost, that imprint that is left after serious relationships is basically just kind of unresolved trauma, right? Like there wasn't adequate closure, like adequate, like to you, to the individual, where it may have ended amicably, but you didn't get the closure that you needed, right? So because of that, you're kind of like in limbo, right? You're in that kind of purgatory state where you haven't moved on, but it's still kind of fresh. It's still there, right? So to leave purgatory is to figure out whatever the root is, right? Like, what was it that you did with that person that was so emotionally evocative, like to the point where you're still thinking about it and you're still kind of not craving it, or hurting. You don't have to necessarily be hurting either, but it's still raw. It's still it's a chord, and it's being struck. And again, even if it's not like some kind of like deeply impactful thing where you may not be like weeping about it, but it's still there. And I think if it's still there, you got to deal with it. You got to figure out what the hell it is and do it. Go into it and fucking stab it, and let it cut you up, let it hurt, let it happen, But that's the only way. And I think that's the case with a lot of people. And again, if you're not aware that that's what's happening, how are you going to face it? What are you going to do differently? It's just more or less a painful longing, because everybody wants to be loved. Everybody needs to be loved. There could be a whole other Snail Solves dedicated to why that's not the case anymore, but ultimately that's kind of what we desire, not only spiritually, but biologically, to not only reproduce and to breed, but to be in the embrace of another. And that's a very, very, very powerful and transcendental energy and process. So there really is no fucking one size fits all to any of these questions or problems, really. But I mean, it's more so based off of the individual, right? Like, if you can kind of step back and be like, hey, like, the reason why I'm feeling like this is because, then you have the power. It's shifted, right? And there is a difference between good and bad nostalgia, right? Like, nostalgia is good. Like, you should be positively and fondly looking back on memories. But if you're doing it, if you're retrospecting in a way that creates a negative emotion, or like, solidifies or continues to solidify a negative imprint in your life, then think of it as kind of like a cancer. You gotta burn it out. You gotta fucking rip it out by the stem. Otherwise, it's going to spread. And it may not even be one of those things that you realize too. Like, again, it may not even be something that you realize now. It may have such a profound effect on you that by the time you get into the next serious relationship, and the honeymoon phase is over, you're still thinking about Sally Sue, right? You're like, damn, man, I really wish it was just the way that it used to be. And to go back to that, is something that's impossible. I mean, you may be able to. I think there is exceptions to every rule, right? But you kind of want to, start. What did Kale say? He said something good back there. Where is it? He said some shit. Yeah, he did. Make a new way that it used to be. Exactly. Yeah, make new shit, That is the double-edged sword of nostalgia. You should only be nostalgic, when you're in like a moment of positive reflection. Like, you shouldn't be emotionally tethered to nostalgia. And if you are, then you gotta reshape. You gotta reformat. Again, it's not a bad thing to remember, but I think for me especially, there's a lot of memories. There's a lot of good memories that I had that make me feel sad. And I think that's a reality too for a lot of people. And that's just the way it is. You can't control that shit. I don't think that that's something that you should suppress or not try to remember, or that you should just like completely cut your ex and anytime you get a thought in your head, you just pop it, right? Not necessarily what I'm saying, but I think you understand by, just doing what's right for yourself and like extra hard, beyond the cliche of like, oh yeah, do what's right for yourself. Do better. Do more than what's just right. Do better. Do what you deserve, because you deserve the best. You deserve everything that you want. So get it. Go claim that shit. Go do it. And you're not going to do it by reflecting on shit that makes you sad. Or you're not by reflecting at all. Like, again, reflecting is something that you should be doing, after, like, you've blown a fat load and it feels really good, you're like, wow, yeah, I remember that one time, that's good, but that should be it. Then you cut it off at the stem. But to circle back around to the whole creative thing too, I think that it helps kind of put you in a specific mindset, and that can be productive in a music or art sense to kind of put yourself in a mental state where you used to be, or reflecting on shit that the way it used to be. But it's dangerous because, I think that kind of lends itself to negative thoughts. Because if you're thinking about good times, you're going to end up thinking about bad times too. And then you feel like shit, and then you fucked up, and then you're doing damage to yourself. So, but yeah, we're gonna wrap it up now. I hope that answers the questions there. I think you guys are all doing great. I love all of you very much. I think it's a process, and this is something that just doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen over 1 week. It doesn't happen in a month. It doesn't happen in a year. Sometimes it takes fucking a decade to really truly get hard and to really truly do what you need to do. But, I think baby steps is the way. You just have to do it. You gotta just do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Loving yourself, accepting the way that things are, not necessarily in a concession kind of way, but accepting the things that you can't control, right? Accepting that you can't worry about them and deal about them, and fuck with them. You don't, because you can't. Also being grateful for what you have, being grateful for who you are, being grateful for the opportunity to be alive and to share the same space as all of us. There really is infinite potentiality. Like, the only thing stopping you is yourself. The chains that bind us are usually our own. But yeah, no, I think that, if you really dig into the hard shit, you gotta go into the roots, address them, do the hard work, and you'll be so much better off for it, I promise. And again, if you follow the 3 fucking things, sun it, sleep it, eat it. Sun it, sleep it, eat it. 30 minutes of sunlight, that's not that fucking hard. Go sit out on your phone. I mean, if you really are so fucking plugged in that you can't go outside without your phone or something, do it. Just fucking spend 30 minutes. Spend 30 minutes in the sun, jerk it, watch your phone, whatever the fuck you're doing, and you'll feel better. At least 30. Try for an hour. Go for a walk too. That's really helpful. That's even more helpful. Well, again, we're doing just baseline. We're doing just the absolute bare minimum. Number 2 is sleeping. Consistent and healthy long amounts of sleep really makes a significant difference. Committing yourself, telling your friends and your significant other and whatever bullshit excuse you have in your life, look, I have to go to sleep, it's 10 o'clock, I'm going to sleep. And then I'm waking up at fucking 6 o'clock because I've had my 8 hours of sleep. And then you get up with the sunlight, and then you go directly, you wake up, fuck your phone, throw that shit in the fucking trash. Go outside, 30 minutes, first thing in the morning. And then you go, and then you do the positive affirmations and shit. You'd be like, I love myself, I'm gonna come. This is a beautiful day. I'm a beautiful person. People love me. I love my friends. I love everything. I'm gonna come. And you just do it. If you don't immediately feel better after doing those simple fucking 3 things, then I have failed you. But the thing is I don't make bets that I know I'm not gonna win. So that shit is gonna bust, and it's gonna feel really good. And you gotta just do it. Don't fucking make excuses. All right, this is fucking Shia LaBeouf time. Don't let your dreams be dreams. Okay? Fucking do it! Don't make fucking excuses. We all have shitty fucking excuses for reasons why we don't do the shit that we either need to do or we want to do. And you gotta just fucking do it. Do it! And squeeze your nuts or your breasts, whatever. It doesn't matter. Squeeze something really hard and do it until you feel fucking good, until you do it. Okay? I love all of you so much. Okay, we're gonna cut right to the ending here. I love you, Mills. Shout out to everybody that's been here. Shout out Blue Cat, Kale the Cunning, Bear, Rot, World Alone Online, of course. Shout out Alex. Oh my God, yeah, yes, yeah. Yo, I'm gonna check out, bitch, yeah, fuck you, yeah. Shout out Phil. Phil was in here. I saw sexy Phil. Shout out Frank. Shout out Window. Shout out everybody. I love all of you. I really hope this video helps. I'm hoping by keeping it short, it's gonna be easier for people that aren't able to catch the stream to go back and watch it without missing too much. I just live my life day by day, just going along for the ride. See, that's a really good way to do it too. You know, if you don't expect anything, you're never gonna be disappointed. And I think just doing what feels good when it feels good is what you have to do. It's the only way to do things, because if you force it, and this is the catch-20 here, but you have to force yourself to do it. But you can't force yourself to do things that are intentionally draining or take away from your life experience. So keep all that shit in mind. Dude, Frank is gonna bust. Frank is streaming tomorrow. Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Yes. I'm excited for Frank's streams. We love you, Frank. We love all of you so much. But it's time now for the ending. I'm gonna go make myself some big sexy dinner. I might be streaming again later on tonight. I don't know. I have some Age of Empires to play, and I got some more shit on WoW to do. If you guys are interested, like it, share it, bust it. Sun it, sleep it, eat it. Sun it, sleep it, eat it. It's time now. I love you all. Continue to be good to each other.
Yes.
Oops. I got a little premature there. Sorry, a little premature bust. Sun it, sleep it, eat it. Yeah, do all that shit. Do everything that I told you to do, and you will be better off for it. And I promise. You can listen to me as the truth. This is the truth, and you must do it. Just do it. Don't make excuses. Make your fucking dreams come true. Do, motherfuckers. Do.